Welcome back to Hardball. In the new movie, it's just coming out, The Kingdom, FBI agents head to Saudi Arabia on a secret mission to investigate a terrorist bombing of a U.S. compound there. The movie opens with a narration of the American history with Saudi Arabia over the years and explains why the Saudis don't like us at all.
Iraq's battle-trained army swept across Kuwait's borders at first light.
As a Saudi national, Osama bin Laden offered his services to the royals.
He told them he could bring his army from Afghanistan to repel the Iraqi invaders from Kuwait.
But the Saudis had a better offer. 500,000 troops from the United States. His offer rejected, Osama took to the streets and mosques to denounce the U.S. royal family and their unholy alliance.
Osama bin Laden this week again lashed out at the Saudi royal family.
We were tracking bin Laden since the early 90s. We stripped him of his citizenship. When it became clear that 15 of the 19 were Saudis, that was a disaster, a total disaster, because bin Laden at that moment had made in the minds of Americans Saudi Arabia into an enemy.
We are with you to get to the perpetrators of this cowardly attack. How dare they say they are Muslim?
This is a nation where tradition and modernity are in violent collision.
Al-Qaeda thought to have been behind the bombing. The team of FBI agents prepares to investigate the attack in Saudi Arabia.
The latest terrorist attacks showcase the great division between the pro-U.S. monarchy and the extremist Wahhabi militants within the kingdom.
Peter Berg directed the film, and he joins us now from Los Angeles. Peter, thank you for joining us. If you had an election in Saudi Arabia today, I know that's unimaginable, but if you had a real election, who would win, George Bush or bin Laden?
Wow, that would probably come down to hanging chuds in Florida. It would be close.
Really?
You know, I think that certainly within members of the royal family and certainly the folks who are controlling the petroleum in that country, George Bush is quite popular, and there's clearly a large, more fundamental group in Saudi Arabia who are not as enamored with us or the royal family, who would probably cast their vote for Osama.
I hear it's worse than that from a U.S. diplomat I met a few weeks ago. He said he's very familiar with the situation over there, as familiar as you can get. And he said once you get below the crust of the royal family and its retainers and those who benefit from the spoils of the oil industry, everybody hates us in Saudi Arabia. Is that too rough, or is that about right?
I think that's probably a bit too rough. I was, as far as I know, the first American filmmaker to ever be granted a visa to go to Saudi Arabia as a filmmaker. Prince Turki Al Faisal, who replaced Bandar as the ambassador to the U.S., gave me one after a bunch of meetings, and I did go there. I went there for 3 weeks. And I have to say that, you know, I was very impressed with the intense amount of security everywhere in Saudi Arabia. Every school, every government building, every hospital, every hotel is surrounded by very heavy security tanks and soldiers. So it's quite clear that there is a very real threat to the Saudis, to the establishment, to the royal family from within. That being said, I have to admit that I was treated with nothing other than kindness and respect by every Arab that I met while I was in Saudi Arabia. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It never did. So it's an interesting place right now, and it clearly is a country that is potentially on the brink of some sort of disaster from within.
They like to call us, our enemies over there, the Crusaders, and they lump us in with what they call the Zionists, the Israelis. They say the Zionist Crusaders are the enemy. If it weren't for the state of Israel, would they still hate us? I mean that as an open question. I think they would, but tell me.
I have to say that you know, not only did we spent time in Saudi Arabia, we filmed in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai and their Dubai sister city Abu Dhabi, and I was impressed and surprised by the level of rage, and this isn't sort of unarticulated, uneducated rage. These are the level of intelligent, well-articulated rage expressed to me at our country's policies towards Israel. We don't quite get it living in the U.S. I'm not an expert to the point where I can truly understand the complexity of the emotion, but it's very real. I think that my experience was that what's driving the anti-American anger is our relationship with Israel, and by the way, not anti-Jewish feeling. It's quite clearly anti-Israeli.
Do they want to get rid of Israel, or they just want Israel to be nicer to or pull back from the Palestinian war? Or is it just the existence that they want to erase?
I can't answer that, but I just will say I've never met that level of intense, consistent rage. So I'm not quite sure what the end goal is.
Has our invasion and occupation of Iraq helped our relations with that part of the world or hurt them?
As far as I can tell, it's helped them. I mean, I've met very few Saudis that have anything nice to say about any Iraqis. I haven't met anyone that, there's so much competition in the Middle East. The Kuwaitis don't like the Iraqis. The Saudis don't like the Iraqis. The UAE doesn't like anyone. Everyone hates Iran. It was hard to find any sort of common alliance.
So even though we're in there pushing the Shia majority to win, because we obviously support democracy, that means the group with the most people wins all the time. We've supported the Shia overthrow of the Sunnis basically since 2003. The Shias are not too popular among the royal family in Saudi. I just wondered why they would be happy to have a Shia-ruled Iraq next to a Shia-ruled Iran now threatening them.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, people ask me, coming back from the Middle East, what I observed and what my takeaway is in terms of what can help, and the only thing that I consistently go back to is by far the country in the Middle East that seems to be functioning as peacefully as possible is the UAE. It's cities like Dubai and Abu Dhabi where capitalism has taken a hold, and there's such investment and growth going on in those cities that they police themselves. And I had dinner with Sheikh Mohammed of Dubai, and I asked him, why there had been no attacks in his country, a country which has alcohol, which has a women are allowed to wear bikinis, and there's a much more Western lifestyle. And he just quite simply pointed to the Burj Hotel and said, we won't let it happen. And I think that that the bottom line for me is unless some sort of capitalistic growth occurs, you're gonna continue to see this chaos.
Okay, well, that movie, everybody's talking about this movie, and I'm not just selling it because I hear it's really good. The Kingdom, it's opening tonight around the country. Peter Berg, you put the movie together. I hear it's got a lot of education in it for what we're facing over there in Saudi Arabia and throughout the Arab world. And thank you for being so candid tonight.